Hi, and welcome to Vet Resources Check-In. I'm Jose Llamas, and I work in the Office of Veterans Experience with VA, and I'm also a Marine Corps veteran. Today, we are joined by Jennifer Perez, National Director for Post 9/11 Transition and Case Management. Jennifer, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be able to be here to talk about our program.
Of course. For the next 15 minutes, Jennifer and I are going to be talking about resources for veterans and their families. Let's get started. Jennifer, do you think VA is ready to meet the healthcare needs of post 9/11 veterans?
I would say a resounding yes. While we may have been years ago known as your grandfather's VA, or people knew VA to have the various, what they saw in the media or such, this is a different VA. And we're 20 years from our tragic events of 9/11. And we have a number of programs, and essentially the entire VA has transformed itself to meet the needs of the new generation of veterans and what we call our post 9/11 era veterans. And having those services everywhere from those very severe to meeting the needs of those very severe injuries and catastrophic conditions with blast injuries and TBIs, as well as what we often call in our programs as the walking wounded, or not even seeing wounds in terms of mental health. But the VA has transformed every area of the organization, including its benefits organization and administration, to be able to really be and meet the needs of our post 9/11 veterans and their families and caregivers.
I agree with you. You're spot on. It's definitely not your grandfather's VA anymore. What do you want veterans to know about support available through the post 9/11 Transition and Case Management Office?
Well, I want veterans to know that in addition to all of the programs across the VA that VA has engaged and integrated into the system, we have also focused an entire programming on post 9/11 era veterans, service members as well, and their families and caregivers. And what I mean by that is years ago, very early on, we began to embed what we call VA Liaisons for Healthcare in our DoD installations. And the purpose for that was so that service members in transition, who, let's be honest, were likely not planning to transition at that time, and probably had a mind to spend their career in the military, we have VA people embedded in our military treatment facilities around the country. And their sole mission is to facilitate and coordinate the transition of healthcare for those service members into VA, where there is no looking for someone to call. There is no what VA do I even go to? There is no the VA is down in the city and I don't want to drive that far and the traffic is terrible, because there might be a community-based outpatient clinic that is right there in their community that can meet their healthcare needs. And that is what these VA liaisons do. They meet with the military treatment teams and they facilitate whatever that care is. They don't dictate the plan. They help carry out the military plan into the VA and then coordinate directly with our programs that are the post 9/11 military to VA teams. We call them post 9/11 M2VA teams. But I do want to mention for those veterans we have out there that have separated years ago, you also know these teams as perhaps the seamless transition teams, the OIF teams, the OIF OES teams, the OIF OEF OND teams, or maybe the transition care management team. But let me say something about that real quick. We made those changes for names because we wanted veterans to know and our service members to know What do we do in transition? Who do we do it for? And we feel like this really communicates to our community that our entire program is focused on providing case management, care coordination, and meeting those needs for service members in transition, as well as our veterans. Because I do want to say that service members in transition may have very different needs than a veteran a year or two out. And that's why we have these care and case management teams in our VA medical centers. Every VA medical center has a post 9/11 military to VA case management team, and their sole focus as experts in this and the needs of this population. That's what they do. They help with housing. They help with family resources, employment, care coordination, and they stay with you until you don't need that level of case management or care coordination assistance anymore.
Wow, what a great resource you guys have created for our veterans and those transitioning from the military. That's amazing. So how is VA providing ongoing support to post 9/11 veterans, families, and caregivers, what you just mentioned?
So as we have, and this is again different for this new generation of veterans, what we found when our service members returned home, often catastrophically injured in the first years of the war, we found that caregivers were really bearing the brunt of a lot of the care needs in the home, and younger service members who had young families and wanted to be part of their children's lives, wanted to be in the family home, wanted to participate, may have an injury, but there is such incredible advancements in every area of healthcare and community and technology. We wanted to find a way to make sure that our caregivers were right there, but also had the support that they need. That caregiving is very difficult. And I can say for myself, I was an unexpected caregiver for my husband for a year, and it is really difficult, and I think it's easy to overlook those hidden heroes. And so the VA has a caregiver support program that not only provides a stipend that for certain eligible veterans, but also has a number of supports for caregivers of all eras, and focuses on supporting that caregiver and making it about them for a little bit. They also, I want to mention, integrate caregivers into the the treatment team, meaning that VA has recognized that it's important for caregivers to be part of the treatment team and, of course, the treatment plan, because it's the caregiver that's going to be helping the 24 hours a day to implement that plan, if you will, and make sure that those service members and veterans have the care and support they need at home in order to resume or get to a part of both physical and mental wellness to be able to move through and contribute and be part of their family and community.
Wow, that is incredible. We know that our caregivers give so much of themselves to their loved ones and our veterans. What a great program that you guys have available for them. So that leads me to my next question. How does your office outreach to those transitioning service members and veterans?
And I appreciate that question because I think this piece often gets overlooked. As a healthcare organization and a benefits piece, I think VA also is often thought of as the folks that provide compensation monetarily and some other different compensations for illnesses and injuries. And then we're also thought of as healthcare focused. But what I want every veteran to know, and those of you in transition, is our post 9/11 military to VA teams are really focused on outreach and that early intervention and engagement. It is so important for us to engage, as mentioned by the VA liaisons, I said earlier, in that facilitation of healthcare. But with our facility teams, they know the community. They know the faith-based people. They know the community organizations. They know that their communities are dying to welcome our service members home and help however they can. And they reach out in the Yellow Ribbon events and the individual ready reserve events that the military holds. But they also do a lot of things locally, welcome home events. And if a veteran hasn't heard of a welcome home event and you're thinking that you returned 10 years ago, so you're not welcoming home, we really want you to come to the welcome home events, because it's really an event that is often at a very family-friendly venue in that particular community. I've heard of them being at racetracks. I've heard of them being at zoos. I've heard of them being in amusement parks, and on and on. So they're meant to be very family-friendly, and have a number of resources, not just how to connect with us, which we do believe is important because we do have the expertise to sort of pull everything together, but to connect with other screenings that you might have, VSOs and vet centers, and a number of folks that are just there and able to get connected. And I will say, if you haven't been engaged with VA, this is your chance also to get registered or enrolled, depending on where you are in your transition, and really get connected with the VA. It is never too late to come to us and to let us engage with you.
You're absolutely right. It is never too late. And it's really about the families, right? Like really helping to help the veteran transition back into the civilian life. That's awesome. My last question for you today is, what has your office been doing to assist veterans impacted by the events of Afghanistan withdrawal and the end of the war? Can you speak to that?
Of course. I think not only are our team, but our entire nation shares in our sensitivity to the impact that not only do the end of the war have, but some of the recent events in Afghanistan. We are keenly aware of the fact that we have service members that may have served 20 years ago and may have served and left 1 month ago and may still be serving. And our post 9/11 military to VA teams, that's what they're there for, is they have that expertise, and we are extremely sensitive to the impact in that. Not only do we know that this may bring up things that they haven't thought of in a while, and just thoughts and memories, and visualizing, especially with so many news reports to see this. We are keenly aware of that, and our teams are there and ready to jump in. Even if you have left our teams and gone, and really resumed your life in the community, we are available to re-engage at any time. And I also want to mention that we're very sensitive to the fact that a lot of our service members and veterans have Afghani partners that they are looking out for, that they are remembering, that help them, and we're part of their teams. And we are engaging with our veterans and their families as this unfolds going forward.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Well, this concludes today's Vet Resources Check-In. Thank you, Jennifer, for the great information and for everything that you and your team are doing for veterans and caregivers all across the country. If you're not signed up for Vet Resources newsletter, I would definitely encourage you to sign up today at www.va.gov/vetresources. That way you can receive all the weekly information that we share to all the veterans every week about organizations nationally and locally where you may live. So thanks for joining us today, and have a great day.